Bezat Hashem, today in Masechet Shabbat, we're learning Tet Amud Aleph. It's a small Amud, but it could be misleading. There's a lot to talk about today. God willing, we'll get through this and be clear. Iskupa, we're still talking about iskupa over here. Okay, so just as a means of introduction, we're going to discuss today the opinion of Acherim in the Braita. Now he really said 2 points in the Braita. We'll discuss both. Before we even see his opinion, we have to know a little bit of Hilchot Eruvin, just to appreciate what's going to go on today. So I'm going to draw a picture because it's easier to explain with a picture.
Dr. Popper would love it.
We have the basic model of what is a mavoi, which means this is a shared area, and on the sides you have chatzerot that lead into this, which means there's people who live here and here and here and here and here. And then you have a shared area in the middle called a mavoy. In English it's called an alley. And then you have here...
Like here? Like
hold on. Just listen. And then you have here outside of the mavoy like a reshut harabim, a public area.
You mentioned that a couple days.
We've spoken about this, right? Now be'etzem, this area inside, it's looked at really like a reshut hayachid, because be'etzem, I'm going to say be'etzem because it's not so simple, but be'etzem, it's closed in. It's used by the people of the yechidim, the individuals, not by the people in the public. So be'etzem, it's reshut hayachid. But we've spoken about how the chachamim require to carry, either between homes, between chatzerot, certain types of eruvin. We spoke about eruv chatzerot, shitufei muvaot. We're not going to speak about that today. But on top of all of that, the Chachamim also required something to be placed on this fourth wall, on this opening that leads to the Reshut Harabim. Now, why did they require that? So there's really 2 reasons. Okay, listen, this is important. There's 2 reasons. One, this is the Lechi and the Korah. We'll speak about it in a minute. One, it creates the image of a fourth wall. It's not really a fourth wall, meaning tachlis, it's not, but it creates like a fourth wall. And 2, it creates a heker, a distinction, something recognizable that this is not Reshut Harabim. Because it looks a little bit like Reshut Harabim. Everyone shares this public area. Everyone, I mean the people who live around that mavoi. So in order that people who are here and here should realize you cannot carry from here to here because this is really private and this is really public, you have to create some sort of a heker, some sort of a distinction. So put either a lechi, which is a standing beam, or a korah, a cross beam. And that accomplishes, again, 2 things. It creates like a fourth wall, and it creates...
Which really give you the okay to...
Then it's really closed in.
The same thing
but also is that it makes people could tell that this is not public area, and that is public area, and now you won't make an issue. Good? Clear? Okay. What did they require us to do? So they required us to either put a lechi or a korah. Lechi is a standing beam, so you would put it at one of the sides of that third wall, meaning you'd put a standing beam.
What is a
standing beam is like a pole, exactly, like a pole. A standing beam. Now again, it would accomplish those 2 things, showing the heker as if it's a fourth wall, fine. Or a korah.
Measurements?
There are measurements. Yeah, we're gonna get into a little bit today, but Bezat Hashem soon.
Okay.
Or a korah. Korah means that if there's the 2 walls, you put a cross beam over the 2 walls from one end to the other. You know, like you see the eruv. I mean, basically like the eruv. You see that string. So a cross beam connecting. Korah. Korah.
בכדורגל, korah is the pole, and mashkof is the beam.
For the goal.
Yes.
For the goal. Okay, but so let's not get confused over here, because here the korah is the cross beam. Okay. So we have lechi, which is the standing beam, or you could use korah, which now
like the
chayayim.
Okay.
Or korah, which is the cross beam. Either way, what this accomplishes now is you have a heker, it's clear, and also it's like a fourth wall. Fine, good. Now, this area, a couple of things just to understand. This area here, this is really what we're going to get into today. This area, which Acherim was discussing. There's this area here that Acherim says is iskupa, And this iskupa, Acherim says, could either be Reshut Harabim, or it could be looked at as Reshut Hayachid. Now listen to the words of Acherim. Acherim says, if the doors are closed, it's Reshut Harabim. If the doors are open, it's Reshut Hayachid. This is very unclear. What are we talking about? What doors? What are we talking about? So the Gemara is going to try to explain to us. We'll have two answers ultimately. What exactly is this case where if the doors, the first pshat we're going to assume is the doors of the mavoi, the doors of the alleyway are closed. That area is part of Reshut Harabim. And if they're open, it's part of the Reshut Hayachid, it's part of the mavoi. Now why there's such a difference, we're going to have to see. One point I want to make before we go ahead is like this. There is a difference between Lechi and Korah as follows. Do you have the art scroll there? Good. Take a look. If you look 9a, you see 9a, you see the A, picture A over there? You see where, that first picture, you see it shows that Lechi?
Yes.
Lechi, you see that? When it comes to using a Lechi to make this heker, this fourth wall, you could only carry in front of the Lechi, not the length of the Lechi. You understand what I just said? Dainu, where the Lechi meets that third wall, you could carry in front of it, but not along its length.
Can you explain it?
Evanta? No. Yeah, I'm explaining it, of course. I'll just explain it here.
Yeah.
You see that little dot is the Lechi, so that's a standing beam. We have the bird's eye view.
In front of it?
On top of it. You could only carry within it, but not along it. Meaning in this case even, where the Lechi is longer, usually they'll put the Lechi closer into the mavoi. But
up to the Lechi?
Up to it. You cannot carry on the side of it. Exactly. You cannot carry on the side of the Lechi. Now with a Korah, it's different. With a Korah, the cross beam, you could carry all the way to the end of the Korah. You hear that chiluk? Lechi, you could only carry to the beginning of the Lechi in the mavoi. Korah, you could carry till the end of it, closer to the Reshut Harabim.
It's got to go together? The Lechi
one or the other. One or the other.
Because Lechi and Korah already close the wall.
Exactly. One or the other. One or the other. But you hear that? You hear what I just said though? Lechi, you could carry only until the beginning of the Lechi. Korah, if you have a cross beam, you could actually carry till the end of the width of the Korah. Till the end of it, meaning where the beam comes across the wall, say it's a tefach thick, you can actually carry till the end of the thickness of that beam within this mavoi.
So that's why Rabbi Meir said what he said.
So now we're going to have to get into exactly what's going on here, because now let's go back to the words of Acherim.
It's like the Lechi. When you open, it's like the Korah.
But what we're talking about here is where you actually have a Lechi or a Korah. So we're going to have to figure out exactly what's going on with closing and opening.
But within the Lechi or the Korah, we also said that there is a iskupa.
That's what we're talking about exactly.
So
that's the case.
The iskupa changing the position. Either it's a Reshut Harabim or Reshut Hayachid. It depends if the door is closed or open, according to Rabbi Meir.
Probably it's also going to cause an issue with lavud.
We're going to get into lavud a little bit today.
It's going to be when it's closed.
We have a lot of excitement
it's part
today.
Of Reshut Harabim.
All right, Chaver, let's go. Acherim omrim, so we said in the Braita, this is the Braita, it's back on Vav Amud Bet. Vav Amud Aleph, excuse me. We had Acherim. Acherim omrim, iskupa mishameshet shtei reshuyot. This iskupa can either be one of two reshuyot, one of two domains. Either bizman shapetach patuach, if the door of the, let's say mavoi, the door of the alley is open kilifnim, it's looked at, this place of the iskupa is looked at as Reshut Hayachid, like inside. Petach na'ul, if the door is locked, it's closed, kilachutz, then the iskupa's place, which is a threshold or the doorstep, is looked at like outside, meaning it's looked at like the Reshut Harabim. Now, says the Gemara, I don't understand. What is going on over here? Question. Ve'afal gav delet le'lechi. You're telling me, even if the normal thing that they would do usually is case number one, A in the art scroll, if you look at that, they usually would put the Lechi closer into the Mavoi, farther from the Reshut Harabim. The problem then, the Gemara says, as I just told you, is that you can't carry the side of the lechi. You could only carry closer in. But we just said if the doors are open, then you can carry on the iskupa. The problem is the iskupa is the gray area. It's that threshold. You can't carry if there's no lechi. The only way you would, by the way, if there's a lechi in front of the gray area, closer to the Reshut HaRabim. But the assumption we're making here is, like they normally would do, is they would put it closer in to the Reshut HaYachid, to the Mavoi area. And if that's the case, even if the door's open, what does it help you? The door's open, it's still Reshut HaRabim. You can't carry there. That's a Reshut HaRabim.
And if I put the dot...
One second. Hold on. No, exactly. If you would put the lechi farther out, you could carry anything that's within that. But the normal thing that was done... One second. The point... Hold on. But the point is, the normal thing, it was closer to the Mavoi. But what does it have to do with doors? That's the point. Meaning, what does it do with the door opening and closing? What the Gemara is saying is, even if the door's open, what does that accomplish ultimately? If it's open, it's considered Reshut HaYachid. We said that the place of the iskupa is Reshut HaYachid. But if the lechi isn't where they usually put it...
If you have a lechi, and the door is open.
Exactly.
It's like extension of the lechi, kind of. That's why they give you the okay to use the iskupa.
Okay, so let me explain what the doors... Let me explain the doors for a second, because the door is open like that outside. It opens inwards.
Inside?
The doors open inwards.
Inside?
Yeah. So let me explain. Klape pnim. Exactly, klape pnim. Two doors open into the mavoi, not out to the Reshut HaRabim.
So the lechi look like part of the door.
So the kasha the Gemara is saying is, if the doors are opening inwards, right? And you have the lechi closer to the mavoi, not closer to the Reshut HaRabim, you can't carry in that iskupa. You can't, because you could only carry up to the lechi, not beyond the lechi, closer to the Reshut HaRabim.
So if I do this...
You understand what I just said? Because you can only carry when it comes to a lechi, up to the lechi, not even the side of the lechi, you're not allowed to.
This is the lechi?
Exactly. Okay. If this is Reshut HaYachid and that's Reshut HaRabim, they put the lechi exactly right there, inside, you can't carry on the iskupa.
Up to here.
Exactly, you can't. So what is it? Why does it help you? Exactly. So what does that help you? Let's read that inside.
What do you mean does it help you? I don't understand. What do you mean does it help you?
We're trying to figure out why would it be that when the doors are open, it's considered, the iskupa is considered Reshut HaYachid. So the normal case would be of a lechi, like I just explained, in case A, where you have that lechi that is closer into the Reshut HaYachid, in the Mavoi, and then the iskupa is not covered by it. It's not, you don't have the coverage that you could carry there. So why does it help you if the doors are open? You still can't carry in that iskupa, assuming the lechi is set up like that. You still can't. So what does that do? Let's read it inside.
But probably...
Hold on, because let's get the steps here, because this is there's a lot going on here. So let's see. So the Gemara says, even if you don't have a lechi outside, meaning farther out, how could you carry inside? Rav Chama bar Gurya Amar Rav. Rav Chama bar Gurya said the name of Rav like this: Toch hapetach tzarich lechi acher la'atiro. In terms of Toch hapetach, which is the entrance way area, like we're talking, the iskupa is the entrance way area. That area within the space of the door, the airspace of the door itself, the entrance area itself, you would need tzarich lechi acher la'atiro. Even if you have a lechi that's closer into the mavoi, if you want to carry in the area that's in the door frame, meaning in the space, let's say it's 4 tvachim, let's say that area, you'd need another lechi that's outside of the door frame, or to the end of the door frame, closer to Reshut HaRabim, to create an allowance, permission, mutar, to carry in the door frame itself. So what we see clearly is, having a lechi closer in does not allow you to carry on that iskupa. So even if the doors are open, it doesn't help you. So therefore, what Matan's suggesting is maybe you have a lechi outside. The problem with that is opening and closing doors that won't help you in any way. So that's why we're going to have a problem with that. But we'll get to that.
Two lechis,
the point. That's the point. Meaning what we just said is you could only carry in the airspace of the door. Let's just assume it's 4 tvachim, the airspace of the door itself. It's less than 4 tvachim, this door, but it's a thicker door because the walls were 4 tvachim. If you have another lechi closer to the Reshut HaRabim, which we're assuming we don't have. So if that's the case, why would it be when the doors are open, you could carry on the iskupa? That's considered Reshut HaYachid.
So maybe when the door is open, Chachamim consider that, like the door it's another lechi, and the front lechi become a front.
How is the door another lechi? The door is open inside, let's say.
Yes.
Inside. How's that a lechi? How does it?
Because the door himself, you see, look. Back then was 2 doors, no 1 door.
Two doors, double doors.
Look here. They put the tzirim more inside, and this is the end, it's like a lechi here. It's another lechi. And probably this one that they put already here is considered like it's a front lechi. That's why
But listen for a second. Even like that, you can't carry on the width of the lechi. You could only carry up to the lechi. Okay. So even if you have you can't carry. Look at picture B. Look at picture B. In that case, where you have the lechi that goes all the way till there, you still can't carry in the iskupa. The only allowance would be
open. Like, give me the okay to put.
That's what we're trying to figure. That's what we're trying to figure out. But the point we're making is, if it was a normal case of a lechi, A or B, regular cases of lechi, you would not be able to carry on the iskupa, because tachlis, what would emerge is that's not an area that's covered by the lechi. You can only carry up to the lechi in the mavoid, not to the side of the lechi. Now korah is different. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Shifman, when the door is open, there's no shaila, there's reshut hayachid here. It's very clear because it's open, you understand? There's a door that shows it's reshut. When the door is closed, maybe and there's no marita ayin.
I mean, I hear the opposite.
Why?
It's open, people see it, and it creates a problem.
Maybe there is a difference between the doors. The explanation, we're speaking of a door. Door. But the idea here that they give us three situations with lechis. One is fenced in, okay. One is just inside of the door.
Hold off on the second.
One outside.
Yeah.
Why
when the door is open? When the door is open.
Why it's become the iskupa?
I just want to explain to you something. Rashi, the reason it brings A, B, and C here is because Rashi seems to put these all together. It doesn't make a difference how you have a lechi, whether it's the little beam, which is A, the full beam that covers till the Reshut Harabim, which is B, or if the sides of the walls themselves begin like that, it wouldn't really help you ultimately. Whatever lechi you have set up would not allow you to carry on the iskupa, because the lechi only allows you to carry to the beginning of the lechi. So the iskupa still is not Reshut Hayachid allowable. It's not. That's the kasha, basically. So how are you allowed to carry on this iskupa when the doors are open? If you're using a lechi, it doesn't work.
What's the door doing by opening the door?
Good question. That's what we're going to figure out today. Let's just go a little bit ahead. So the Gemara says, okay, maybe I'll tell you pshat. V'chi tema. Maybe you'll say, delet be dalid al dalid. Maybe the case is where it's not 4x4. Now, just to be clear here, Rashi switches to case C now. Look at case C in the article for a second. It's where you don't have a full fourth wall, but the fourth wall just begins on each side of the first and third walls, on each side. So 1 second. The thickness of the wall is 4 tfachim. The width of the area is 4 tfachim, but the thickness would not be 4 tfachim. So it's not 4x4. So maybe you'll say, where it's not 4x4, there a lechi would allow you to carry in that area. If it's not 4x4, you could actually carry in the entirety of that area.
But
that's what the Gemara is saying.
It changed of the door.
What's that?
The door changed the situation.
Hold on. The problem is, V'ha'amar Rav Chama bar Gurya Amarav Tocha Petach. Rav Chama bar Gurya Amarav said, inside of the airspace of the door, Afal pi she'ein bo dalid al dalid. Even if it's not 4x4, tzarich lechi acher latiro. You need another lechi in front of it to allow the carrying in that area. So you can't tell me that we're less machmir because it's a smaller area. You don't need another lechi. We know you cannot carry in that iskufa, you cannot carry in that area of the door frame unless you have another lechi. So whenever you're talking in the world of lechi, you can only carry up to the lechi.
But maybe the lechi is outside.
But then what would that have to do? What would that have to do with the door? Exactly. Shalom, shalom. What would that have to do with the doors opened and closed? Oh. Shkoyach. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. I appreciate it. So, back to the story at hand.
Don't forget to take it out.
I'm going to keep it. Thank you very much. Shkoyach. Sweetheart. So Bekitza, what we're holding at is, assuming we're talking about a lechi, the bottom line is, lechi will not allow you to carry on the iskupa, because you could only carry up to that lechi. And like everybody's trying to say, okay, maybe you put the lechi outside, but then what does it have to do with the doors open and closed? Because ultimately you can only carry up to the lechi. So what the Gemara is going to switch now is to say, maybe it's a case of a korah. A korah. Now let's come up with an example here.
When the door is closed, it's like a korah. When you open the door, it's turned to be, you use the lechi. It's either korah or lechi. When the door is closed, we put the door like this, like you have korah. The two doors together, it's like korah. Right?
Yeah.
Like lechi. Like
when
korah.
it's closed, you have a fourth wall.
Okay.
When the doors are closed, you have a fourth wall. That's bichlal. Right?
Although it's not kavua, it's
lechora. So look, Rabbi Yehuda Marav says beautiful chidush. Listen to this. I'm going to explain it outside and then we'll see it inside. It's actually, if you want to look at the diagram in your Gemara, if you turn the page, it's 12. Note 12 over there. Baruch Hashem, our scroll gives nice diagrams. No. On Tet Amud Aleph, but it's note number 12. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, look at this. Look at this picture, Chevra. Rabbi Yehuda Marav is going to say pshats like this. You have the mavoi with, in the corners it turns in a little bit, but Rashi learns that doesn't help you in terms of lechi. It's not a lechi. You don't have a lechi here. B'kitzah, you don't have a lechi. But what you do have is a korah going from one end of the opening to the other end of the opening. Now listen good. The korah that you have going across is 1 tefach thick. 1 tefach thick. The area of the iskupa under it is, it could be 4 tefachim, but listen, the doors that are inside of it, like this is how Rabbi Yehuda Marav is going to explain. Chidush. There's a concept in halacha called pi tikra yored v'sotem. We actually spoke about this briefly. It's an imaginary halacha, which is that when we have some roofs, we can look at it as if the roof goes down to the floor.
Like the sukkah neschach. Like the
sukkah neschach, exactly. We use this in the Ilchot Sukkah as well to a certain degree. Usually, you could only say a chidush of pi tikra yored v'sotem if, now this is a little bit unclear, but if the roof that we're talking about is 4 tfachim. So, you'd say, this korah is only 1 tefach.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be enough to say pi tikra yored v'sotem. Okay? However, there's a chidush when it comes to a mavoi that the Chachamim said, when it comes to a mavoi, you could look at even 1 tefach of a korah like a full roof, and you say pi tikra yored v'sotem.
Even less than tefach?
It seals up the entrance.
Even less than tefach?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine.
No, that's what they're making the Eruvim.
Very minimal.
String, and it's like a wall.
Very minimal. So even if it's 1 tefach, you could say it's looked at as if it goes down. Okay? Now, what's the difference if the doors are open or the doors are closed? What's the difference?
Because when the door is closed, it's obvious.
Say more. Usually, shma. Usually to say pi tikra yored v'sotem, it has to be 4 tefachim.
No.
Chidush for mavoi, you can use a korah, even if it's 1 tefach, you can say pi tikra yored v'sotem.
Okay.
If the door is open, you're using this beam as a korah, and you say chidush of pi tikra yored v'sotem. So now what happens is the area until that korah, until it, all the way until the end of it, you could carry that on that iskupa until that area would be considered reshut hayachid.
How we know this is a korah? We don't speak about korah.
Hold on. But if the door is closed, that's now reshut hayachid up till where?
Until the door.
Until the door. Inside. The korah now is not serving as a korah for a mavoi, an open 3-sided wall. Now this korah is disregarded. So now, 1 second. So now what happens is you don't look at it and say pi tikra yored v'sotem anymore because it's not what. It's only 1 tefach. It's not 4. So now that area under the beam would be considered iskupa, would be considered reshut harabim.
When it's closed.
When it's closed, that beam has no significance of a korah of a mavoi, because now it's a closed-in area. The whole thing is reshut hayachid. But what the beam does, which is a little bit farther out from those walls, is insignificant, because you can't say pi tikra yored v'sotem if it's not 4 tvachim. So therefore you disregard it. But if the doors are open and you have a mavoi, an open mavoi, 3 sides, 1 side open, chidush is you can say 1 tefach is pi tikra yored v'sotem. So then you can carry up to that place in the iskupa till the end of that korah. That's Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Big chidush. Let's read that inside.
But they give chidush. Yeah. It's number 3. We don't know this. Even if we know there is a korah on top, we didn't know without the chidush. This is
Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Says Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav, you know Rav, what?
I lost you a little bit.
It's okay, I'm going to read it and I'll explain it again. Rav was a tremendous Talmid Chacham. Rav was huge. Rav was so big that Rav Yehuda Nasi, it's a Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, I just learned it. Rav Yehuda Nasi was nervous to give him certain smichut because Rav was so big, he was so massive. One particular area of halacha that it talks about there, that he would go to Bavel and he would paskin halachot, and the other Talmidei Chachamim were not on his level, would make a mistake based on his psak and use it to paskin elsewhere that wasn't the same thing. Because Rav was so medayek, he knew all the halachot so clearly, no one else was on the level. Rav was huge. So he says a chidush. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Hacha iskufat mavoy askinan. We're talking about iskufat mavoy. Now he specifically says iskufat mavoy because we'll see the next answer is going to be iskufat bayit. We'll see in Rav Ashi. Chetzio mekoreh, v'chetzio eno mekoreh. The korah goes over part of the iskufa. It's not on all the way on the outside towards the Reshut Harabim, but only over part of the iskufa. V'kiriyo klape pnim. As I said, the coverage is closer to the inside. Now as follows. The doors are even inside of the korah. So meaning the doors are in front of the iskupa. Then you have about a tefach behind that. You have this tefach thick korah. Petach patuach, when the doors of the mavoi are open and that korah functions as a korah of a mavoi, so now we could say pi tikra yored v'soten, which is a chidush you don't usually say if it's not 4 tfachim thick, kilifnim. So now the area under that until the end of that korah is treated like the reshut hayachid. Petach na'ul, but if the doors are closed, so now you have a closed-in mavoi, that bar across the walls, it has no significance. You can't say pi tikra yored v'soten because it's not 4 tfachim. So the iskupa now becomes like reshut harabim. This is the chidush of Rav Yehuda Amar Rav.
Why in case the door is closed? Anyway, the door is closed. It's like a separation. It's like a fence. So anyway, mazim shaneli the korah.
I'll tell you, because if it's open, there's a chidush in halacha. We look at even less than 4 tefach bar.
If it's open.
If it's open, but if it's closed, that's not a korah of a mavoi anymore.
If it's closed, it loses its essence because anyways we know that there is a door.
Exactly,
so
and that's where
that's
where the reshut hayachid ends. Now this is a regular 1 tefach bar that you can't say pi tikra yored v'soten.
So it's basically applied only when there is like the door is open.
Exactly, that's like the chidush of Acherim. Exactly. That's how Rav Yehuda Amar Rav explains Acherim. Now comes Rav Ashi and he says, I have a different pshat. This is even more fancy. This is unbelievable. Rav Ashi says, we're not talking about the entrance iskufat mavoi. We're talking about, Acherim is talking about iskufat bayit. Now let me just explain outside. Iskufat bayit, this idea of pi tikra yored v'sotem, 1 tefach you can use, is only by mavoi. It doesn't exist by bayit. So now bayit, we're going to have to come up with a new example. So if you want to take a look, I'll explain it outside and then we'll see it inside. Take a look at that other diagram there, towards the bottom of that page on the art scroll.
What is the difference? Because there is one door.
This is a house. This is not a mavoi, okay? This is a house. Now, you have this skufa in the front of the house. You have this threshold, this doorstep. And over you have the doors, I mean the door, which one door, it doesn't mean to be 2, just I guess for illustration purposes. On top of the 4th wall, means you don't have a 4th wall. On top of the 4th wall, you have 2 beams that go across. Each of those beams is less than 4 tefach. Okay. Now, if it's less than 4 tefach, you cannot say pi tikra yored v'sotem. But the 2 beams are within 3 tefachim of each other.
It looks like 1.
What is that called?
It's called
if 2 beams are within 3 tefach of each other, it's called lavud. So now we could look at it as if it's 1 long beam over the 4th wall, which now we could say it's 4 tefach. Pi tikra yored v'sotem. So it would seal in that area as a reshut hayachid. Pi tikra yored v'sotem. The end of the wall, the mouth of the wall, goes down to the floor. It's a chidush in halacha, by the way.
But we said it have to be above 4 tefachim length.
4 tefachim deep, meaning wide, let's say.
Wide?
Yeah.
And
so now...
And 4 tefachim...
4 tefachim wide, let's say. 4 tefachim wide, yeah.
And length?
Length, I'm not sure. That I'm not sure. Let's leave off
It
on
has to
that.
be 4
tefachim wide.
But we said even tefach.
Tefach is specifically by a mavoi, we use a chidush, but not elsewhere. Generally, you need 4 tefach. So here, if you say lavud, each one is 3 tefachim, and it's within 3 tefachim of each other. So now you have a, what do you have? You have a 6 tefach or 7 tefach wide board, because you could combine the two with lavud.
But it's 2
so now you could.
ones.
But what does lavud allow us to do? If they're within 3 tefachim, it's looked at as one continual board. So now it's like it's 4 tefach wide, and you could say pi tikra yored v'soten, and it would seal off the entrance as if it's a 4th wall. You can carry in that iskupa. Now, what's the difference if you open the door or close the door? So listen to the chidush Rav Ashi says. The case is where the door closes in middle of those boards, in the airspace between those boards. You could only say lavud if the door is open, but the moment the door is closed, essentially what it does, it splits the 2 boards.
Yes.
And if it splits the 2 boards, it actually doesn't physically split. But you can't say this imaginary halacha of lavud if there's a door in between, because now it's clearly making a distinction, a separation between these 2 boards. So let's speak that out. When the door is open, you say lavud, and it's more than 4 tefachim. And now that it's more than 4 tefachim, you say pi tikra yored v'sotem, and the iskupa, that area underneath becomes reshut hayachid. But if the door is closed and below it's separating between these 2 boards, you can't say lavud. And now what you're going to have to say is that area outside of the door is reshut harabim. That's Rav Ashi's explanation of Acherim. Let's read that inside.
Very similar idea.
It's a similar idea, but it is chilukim. Rav Ashi Amar Rav Ashi says, Le'olam bi'iskufat bayit askinan. We're talking about the threshold, the doorstep of a house. Okay, gon shekira b'shtei korot. He put 2 beams over it. She'ein bezu arba'a ve'ein bezu arba'a. Neither one is 4 tefach. Ve'ein ben zo lezo shlosha. And there's less than 3 tefachim between the 2 boards. Videlet ba'emtza, but the door closes in the middle of those boards. Again, petach patuach, when the door is open, you say lavud, and that area becomes considered closed off with pi tikra yored v'sotem. So kilifnim, it's inside. But petach na'ul, if the door is closed, which separates those 2 boards, kilachutz, then you have to look at the area outside of the door as reshut harabim. Clear? Matan? Yeah? Okay, process.
Process it 1 second. But again, each korah have to be 4 tefachim wide.
In order to say pi tikra yored v'sotem. So we're saying here it's where they're not.
Less.
Each one is less than 4 tefach, but they're within 3 tefach of each other. Means they're close to each other. So if the door is open, you could look at those boards as if
they are less than 4 tefachim, but the distance between the korot
is less than 3 tefachim.
So because of it, it's become lavud?
It's like one long board. And now it's more than 4 tefachim.
But how small it... wait, it has to be less than 4 tefachim, or it has to be 4 tefachim each korah?
In order to say pi tikra yored v'sotem, usually 4 tefachim. For anything besides mavoi.
So it's 4 tefachim wide, and there is like distance between 3 tefachim between each one of the korot?
Less than 3 tefachim, exactly.
Yes.
So now you say lavud. So now it's a board that's 4 tefachim.
4 and 4, and here there is like less than 3 tefachim, so it's all...
So now it's looked at as like an
10 tefachim wideness.
Exactly.
Because 2, let's say, and then 4 and 4.
Exactly.
All of this become lavud.
Exactly. And then you could say pi tikra yored v'sotem, which would mean we look at the end of the board as if it goes down to the floor, covering the iskupa.
Like good achit
similar idea. Very interesting. God willing, we'll go through these. Very interesting.
But why I need that pi tikra yored v'sotem?
Yeah.
There is like the door wall.
Oh, because you don't have 4th wall here.
But according to the diagram here,
it
does showing me a wall that goes down.
That's imaginary.
It's imaginary.
It's imaginary. That's the point. The door closes, and the door closes in the middle of those boards. Yeah, we're using imaginary rules here. This is imaginary. If there's be creative over here.
But the wall is ending somewhere, and I have to put the korah.
Correct.
Right? So the korah is here. This is like basically the door. And I open the door. So there's 2 walls like here.
Correct.
So I have to put the korah on top. So there is a wall.
There's no 4th wall. That's not a 4th wall. The only way it's a 4th wall,
it's like it's complete wall,
is that we look at the end of the board as if it goes down, covering the iskupa from the reshut harabim. But you could only say that if the door is open, because this is a door that closes in middle of the boards. So if it closes in middle of the boards, what happens now is you can no longer say lavud. There's no imaginary halacha when we see that there's clearly some sort of a separation. Then it becomes that you have boards that are less than 4 tfachim. You can't say pitik.
So when I build the house, I have to do this separation with lavud, no?
Well, when you build a house, usually the door opens and you go out to Reshut Harabim. For example, this is a creative case where there's some sort of a doorstep or some sort of a entranceway that's not covered entirely. So you put 2 boards over it, and now you're coming up with a creative case, and your door opens in the middle. Okay, that's pshat of Rav Ashi. Let's finish up.
Okay.
End of the Braita. Acherim finished off and said, "V'im hayta iskupa gavoa yod v'rochva dalid harei ze reshut la'atzma." So he said, Acherim finished off. He said, if this iskupat is 10 tfachim tall and 4 tfachim wide, it's considered reshut la'atzma. It's a reshut hayachid, but it's not part of the house. It's a reshut la'atzma. That's what he said in the Braita. So the Gemara explains, as Yochai just said, Acherim is Rabbi Meir, and we see Rabbi Meir says the same shita elsewhere. Now that it's reshut b'fnei atzma, actually, you can't carry from your house to that, even though it's right next to your house.
Even though they have lavud?
Forget lavud. Lavud doesn't work here. You can't carry because that's
all one unit.
It's all one unit. No. You can't apply lavud wherever. There's rules about that. It's not so simple. No. It's outside. So that's a chiddush. Excellent. So we're saying either of the answers, Rav Marav or Rav Ashi, here there's a gzeira you cannot carry from that to your house. We'll see what is that gzeira. Let's see. So this is a proof to Rav Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi. Rav Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi, Omer Hayir Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir used to say, which is Rabbi Meir's Acherim, Kol makom she'ata motzei bet reshuyot. If you have 2 reshuyot, now what it means is you have a reshut hayachid, let's say a courtyard, okay, some sort of a closed-in area, courtyard, chatzer, and there's another reshut. What does it mean another reshut? It means there's an area. One second. In that reshut hayachid, you have a platform that's 10 tvachim tall and 4 by 4, which also is considered a reshut hayachid. But vehen reshut achat, they're both the same type of reshut, meaning they're both reshut hayachid. So it's like a reshut hayachid inside of a reshut hayachid. Such a case, kegon, for example, Amud b'reshut hayachid. If you have a beam or a platform in a reshut hayachid, gavoa yod v'rachav dalid, 10 tvachim tall, 4 tvachim wide. Asur l'katef alav. You're not allowed to put things onto it. It means shoulder, but you're not allowed to put things on, arrange it, take it off. Now, why are you not allowed to? Be'etzem, that's part of your reshut hayachid. It's not different. Gzera mishum tel b'reshut harabim. Because here it's completely mutar. But you might have a similar case where you have a platform in reshut harabim that's 10 by 4, and to take something from that or put something on that in reshut harabim would actually be melacha d'oraita, because that's a reshut hayachid, and around it is reshut harabim. So in order to avoid that issue, the Chachamim said, if you have a platform in the reshut hayachid, a mound. It means a mound. Pile. Yeah, it's an expression. So the problem is, then you might, if you carry from the mound, the pile in the reshut hayachid, you might end up carrying from the same size in reshut harabim. So says the Gemara, it's Acherim, it's Rabbi Meir l'shitato. The same thing. If you have this iskupa right outside of your house, it's 10 by 4, you can't take from it to your house or vice versa because it looks like a separate domain, and then you might end up doing that in reshut harabim, which will be a problem. Comes along Tosafot, he just clarifies for us an important point. Lefizeh, if you have a box in your house that's 10 by 4, you shouldn't be allowed to put things on it and take things off of it on Shabbat. There's no issue. There's no issue, right? In Lefizeh, we said if it's a mound or a pile in a reshut hayachid, you can't take off of it or put on it.
No, maybe it's different between diyurin, reshut diyurin, and reshut hayachid.
Because probably it's lo befaresia.
Beautiful. Well, no, that's again. But if you'll make a mistake, then that's a problem. So Tosafot says you can't compare. The example he gives is like a house to the attic. He says why? Because there's walls all around you. Everybody sees this is a house. Everybody knows whatever's inside of it is a house. But in a case of a courtyard, for example, where the courtyard is a reshut, it's a reshut hayachid, but it's not as distinct because the walls are farther away. You don't see it as clearly. There, midrabanan, you would not allow to be taking from such a platform or put back onto a platform because it's more domeh to reshut harabim, and then you'll end up doing a sudaoraita. We'll stop here at the bottom of the page.
As you said, small dove.
A lot of stuff here.
But
Pick up tomorrow, Teta Amud Bet, V'zat Hashem.
what happened in
Shabbat
case?
Shalom, Sunday. Shabbat
What
Shalom.
happened if the iskupa is makom patur? I still cannot carry from the house to the iskupa because iskupa, let's say it's less than 4x4 and above 3 pshatim height. Like a small step.
Good question. Good question.
Because you say, if it's mavot, מה?
אני רץ לעבודה שלי.
השם ישמור אותך,
הצלחה.
שבת שלום, חודש
שלום.
שלום.
תודה קדוש ברוך הוא.
יהיה יום של הצלחה.
תאמין לי.
אמן.
אם לא היה השיעור הזה, this no way I living to nowhere. לא צוחק. ממש, מה, אבל מה, אז רוצים ללמוד, מה?
ברוך השם שזכינו.
שנינו הטוב חלקנו. ברוך
חזק
השם.
וברוך, מתן.
יום טוב, יום טוב.